Hello, today we're going to talk about why caffeine or coffee eventually stops working. So it's actually not your tolerance, it's your recovery debt. Now, my name's Chester. I'm an online coach that helps with sleep and performance reliability, and I'm also a training sleep scientist. So yeah, coffee you don't just build a tolerance, what you do, but also the reason why you find it just actually stops working altogether is because you're in recovery debt. So yes, your body will start accumulating and getting used to the amount of caffeine you're having, so the effect is less. But if you find that it's a bit more than that and simply caffeine just does not work whatsoever, it's likely that you're in recovery debt. So what do I actually mean by that? So you know that obviously when you have caffeine early on, when you first start having it, you get that boosted energy, right? You're able to focus better, you have that pick me up, and ultimately it works well. Over time, caffeine stops working. The ability for it to actually give you that boost becomes less and less and less. Now, if you're someone that doesn't have caffeine all that regularly, then actually what you'll find is that that signal and that boost of energy stays pretty consistent. And every time you do have a bump of caffeine, every time you have a drink of caffeine or a coffee or something like that, you can actually find that your energy picks up pretty steadily. And you get that boost in focus and performance. Now, over time, that dulls if you have it excessively. And the reason for that is because caffeine doesn't actually give you energy, it just masks fatigue. It blocks the fatigue signal. So in the day, essentially what's going to happen is you're going to build up something called adenosine, which is a signal for your body's tiredness, right? Your sleepiness, so that your body can actually fall asleep in the night. When you have caffeine or coffee, those adenosine receptors get blocked. So that essentially means that your fatigue is masked. So you no longer feel that tiredness, that sleepiness, that want to just like sit or lie down or just chill out. Caffeine stops that. So that's a problem, obviously, because if you keep masking a signal, eventually the signal is going to get too great. So you can't even mask it. So that's what I essentially mean by the recovery debt. So if you keep having tremendous amounts of caffeine, but your sleep quality is impaired, then your adenosine is just going to keep on building, right? So that fatigue signal is going to get greater and greater and greater. And yeah, caffeine can mask a bit. And if your sleep debt is low and your recovery debt is low, and like it was just one night of bad sleep, then okay, your caffeine can mask that. But eventually, if you keep getting worse sleep, right, and it keeps building, worse sleep, then that ability for caffeine to block that signal, the recovery debt and the sleep debt is going to be too high. So you simply cannot block that signal. So yes, you're having caffeine, but it's simply not able to work because your body just needs rest. Your body doesn't need to be more stimulated. It doesn't need to mask fatigue. It needs to actually recover. You need to allow your body to recover and rejuvenate and actually put itself in a position where it can then function properly again, right? But if you are just continuing to build that fatigue signal and never allowing your body to properly rest and just forcing your way through the day and using caffeine to help you get there, then your body is just in a stress state 24/7 and you're actually not able to get any recovery, and then you feel worse. You're going through work, your output is reduced and your performance is worse and less reliable. So with poor sleep, that adenosine or that fatigue signal essentially accumulates, right? So the point gets to the signal just overwhelms the blocker, right? So the caffeine simply cannot touch how great the fatigue has got. So also something that exacerbates this is a high stress load. So if you're having caffeine, right, and you're having caffeine to get you through like a stressful day because you've had a lot going on, then that's even worse, right? Because you're now aggravating your system even more. You're in such a state of like fight or flight and aggravation and stress because you're having caffeine. So you've got higher amounts of fatigue because you're trying to mask that fatigue, but it's not working, obviously. But then you're also in a state where like you're doing this, you're doing that, you're trying to get this done, that done. So you're essentially just agitating yourself and you're making it so that your body's in a state where it can just never actually recover. So you just start feeling worse and worse and worse. And over time, obviously, this leads to burnout, right? Obviously, this takes a long period of time for you to get to that level, but in the short term, you will notice this. And the effects that you can notice are you may feel more jittery, you may rush to make decisions, you may actually regret those decisions. You may be like, oh, like I wouldn't actually usually do that. I don't know why I made that sort of decision. You may find that you're more irritable, and you may find that you just get mental drops. You just get blockers, right? Your focus just drops. You're not as productive. You actually just hit basically a wall, right? And caffeine does not do anything for that. It makes it worse, right? So the mistake is just having more caffeine, right? Instead of going for 2 coffees, you have 3. You push it back from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. to try and get back what you once had in terms of like that boost or that kick. Realistically, the only way you're actually going to do that is by supporting your recovery. Okay, you need to actually have a look at the things that are actually going to help you with your recovery, which is going to be good nutrition, hydration, quality sleep, and exercise. If you can do those things, you're going to get the benefits, and you're no longer going to feel just like a zombie that has to use this to just get to a baseline level of normality. Like, your new normal now may not be like your true level that you could be at, because you're just so used to just relying on caffeine and allowing that to get you up to a baseline, where if you just allowed sleep to restore you, your baseline would be so much higher, right? So that's the level that you want to get to. You have to think, is caffeine supporting you, which caffeine can ultimately be used as a tool, or are you using it as a crutch and are you just compensating with it? If it's the latter, then obviously that needs to be addressed, right? Because nothing beats quality sleep, because quality sleep is so important for so many different processes in the body, regulating your emotions, allowing your mind to recover, okay? Allowing your performance to be at the best, your decision speed, being able to function competently as the person that you need to be day in, day out. If you're not getting quality sleep and using caffeine, you're not going to be that person, because you simply can't, because your brain, your body isn't in a position to do that, okay? Because you're in a heightened state of stress all the time. Now, if you want to see how your sleep is actually doing in terms of allowing you to perform at your best reliably, then just click the link in the description and it will take you to a audit or a quiz that I've made. It essentially just looks at your sleep and other lifestyle factors, scores it, and just sees, okay, what's going wrong, where can you fix that to make your performance more reliable so you're at the best version of yourself on a daily basis. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.